Here we are. I want to thank Alex and Alasdair. It's always a journey. We just came on the cresting a wave of positivity behind the scenes. And there's no better place to hit it than with Pete's ridiculous Lizardman army. So if any of you guys played Pete, Paddy has a couple of times.
No, haven't had the
Have not.
chance yet.
As a Lizardman player, I thought it was done. Like I can look here from my computer. I've got this beautiful 5,000 point army that is sliding more and more into obscurity as this metagame tightens. And then Pete comes out with fresh ideas all the time. So what he's got, no Slan, no Carnosaur. He's running a Skink Chief, a BSB, a Ruby Ring, Charm Shield. It's good. It's good. Survival enough, 360 range. Can get into your war machines and do stuff. But the Skink Priest, two of them with Engines of the Gods on Stegs, level 2s, with battle magic. One of them's got a 5-up ward, the other one's got the Lore Familiar. So they're getting +1 to cast each, but they do only dispel as level 2s. So I think there's 7 wounds each. Then he's got the Tensaurus, but he has put Standard Musician in there, I guess, to capture the standards. And then there's 60 Skinks, I counted. 60. So 2 units of 15 that Vanguard, and 3 units of 10 that are just going to be in his deployment. 7 Jungle Swarms, so they skirmish on 40 mil bases, poison attacks, and double Bastiladon with the solar engine. So as you guys have noted off air, he's still running that fireball theme, has 5 locked in fireballs and potentially 2 more. Yeah. Distinctive.
You can't be mad at Lizardmen bringing behemoths in any form, right? Because that's like the signature move. So no Carnosaur is definitely a surprise because it's like the natural dragon predator with its multi-wound attacks. But yeah, mate, Pete is the savant of Lizardmen. He's come out notably again. He's he's self-acclaimed only Warhammer player in the North Shore. So he has to drive to Western Sydney to get a game in. But yeah, all accounts and purposes, Pete's great. He's been a wave of positivity when he came to the scene. I think his first event was a 2+ warm-up event in December. So it's good to see him back. And I think he was actually on the reserve list for this event.
Yeah, I think he
60
might have
skinks.
come in and out. But yep, 60 Skinks. I think the 7 Jungle Swarms is insane. How has he painted that many of them? When was that relevant?
I mean,
60 Skinks.
If he's applied the Alex Searle approach, then he's sprayed it, slopped contrast paint on it, and then oiled it with a Windex bottle. But the thing that I like about this is that there's a nod towards theme, whether it's intentional or otherwise. I think the Saurus Warriors mandatory. Do you have to take Saurus Warriors? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
but outside of the 1 unit of Saurus Warriors, not a Saurus in sight. It's all Skinks. It's Skinks. It's really what's the modern 8th ed version of the Skink Chief, like tic-tac-toe or something like that. But it's
the dude with the tablet. Is that the dude with the tablet?
Yeah, the dude with the lizard Moses. Yeah. I feel like it's very much that, and I love that. Like it's not that he's got like big overwhelming things. He's just got lots of small good things, which are what Skinks are really great at. Like 15 Skinks for 80 points. It's so good. It's so good.
And definitely javelins. I think he ran blowpipes before, but the value you get from javelins with a few special rules, randomly having 5-up armor, it's really worth it. Like blowpipes are okay, but you've got to do a lot of work. The javelins you can march, throw them 12 inches. So yeah, I wonder if the poison, like this is genuine poison, if you can make it work.
Yeah.
So good luck to Peter. Richard, High Elves. I guess I'll take this one. I didn't get to see Richard play on the weekend, but he's got some of the things. So there's the tank prince, the 2-up save for the prince, and then he has another archer, a moon dragon. It's got 2 dragons. better dragons than Keith, but I guess Keith has 4 behemoths. And it's a little bit different, but he's got the Archmage coming in at 495 points, illusion, but yeah, only toughness 5 can hurt that thing a little bit more than you would like. Then there's a whole lot of chaff. So lots of archers, 24, 2 small units of silver helms with the standard bearers. So they're no musician, no champion. So I guess they're looking to try to take objectives. And then the 3 sky cutters, 2 bolt throwers, and a unit of shadow warriors. So interesting, a bit of a change from what he had before. I think he had eagles on the weekend, bigger unit of silver helms in core, 1 dragon. So this is slightly different. And remembering we've mentioned the 2+ tournament throughout, people didn't have a chance to change their list during the day unless they submitted it late. But yeah, 2 dragons. What do you think?
Too many. I mean, it's I appreciate actually having one person bring, apart from Keith, who's bringing 2 bone dragons. I appreciate the one person who's willing to spend 1,000 points on 2 characters. The benefit, at this point, as opposed to at 2,400 points, where you get all your toys plus all of the extras. And with the Throne of Skulls comp on here, where you can't spend more than 25% on any single character, I still very much think that those are 2 scary dragon characters. The Archmage could be really amazing if it gets Doppelganger. The only problem with the Archmage is that it ends up being, as you pointed out, with the toughness 5 dragon, it's just weapon skill 4. And so
that's a big deal. It really is. It comes up a lot, and I don't know if I'm as a fan of the Archmage. I know we talked in the other video that sisters, and when you take sisters in core, you sort of have to put the you got to sort of take a star dragon to be competitive at 2000, but Archmage has to go on it. I actually think the Frost Phoenix might be better because you can't really squeeze it in if you want but the Doppelganger combo you can get back because it has the strikes last aura on the Phoenix, but it gives you toughness 6. It does come in at 505, which doesn't really work, but if for this format, but instead of the Moondragon for toughness 5, but at the same time, the offense is still pretty good. Like if you roll higher than the stomps, it's still strength 6, behemoth, fly 10, swift stride, 5+ regen. So
still
5 spells.
It's still weapon skill 6. Like it's got D6 stomps. Like it's still a dragon, right? It's a toughness 5 dragon, but it's still a dragon. It's very respectable. I think we had this conversation a while ago of what's the better choice in these elf lists between the level 4 on the really big dragon or the combat character on the really big dragon. And I think the thing that's developed since we had that conversation is just the role archetype that you are really looking for those characters. And 2,000 points lets you explore both, which is really great. But I still feel that, you go sub 2 points and you're more likely to see the level 4 on a Star Dragon than you are the Prince. But 2,000 points giving him the freedom to run both. Again, it's 1,000 points in 2 characters. And again, I compare my list to everything, as we all do when we go through these lists, depending on the luck of those cannons, because there's no solid ward save on either of those. There's the regen saves, but there's no solid war saves on those. The cannons can do a lot of work against sort of vulnerable behemoths.
He has an opal amulet, but I don't know. It's on the weaker one, the toughness 5. It's still 2 dragons. I mean, we're sort of probably overthinking it. It's probably
we are. I mean, absolutely.
You wouldn't.
That's what this is for, right?
Killing both would be almost.
Maybe that's what he wants.
Maybe it's what he wants.
It's important to point out about the weapon skill 4 is that striking the Moondragon, you're actually striking against the rider. So I see that a few times where people think, oh well, the Moondragon's weapon skill 6. Split profile is you hit the rider's weapon skill.
Always.
So, he'll have glittering robe probably. It's hurt me a lot more than I would like to admit, and I've become a big fan of the Prince, just for the things that it does differently, even though I like a lot of magic. And yeah, I just found that was a strange thing that was really killing me to the point where I was considering Blood of Caledor to get to 5, that it would just hitting on 3s all the time against it just wore you down.
Yeah, I think
And you don't get the save.
The other thing it's worth pointing out with Blood of Caledor, or any high elf will know this, but maybe others won't, that makes it impetuous. It is weapon skill 8 now. It's a weapon skill 8 prince, but it's impetuous. So
I wonder if he did what I did. Like, I just sort of thought that the 6+ ward save was worth it, for like essentially what amounts to 10 points when you get the full plate, or 9 points to get the full plate armor. But yeah, it came up. I had one game where it might have made a difference, and yeah, it can draw you out, especially if you're like this, where it's sort of a bit more defensive. But I guess his prince just wants to fight all the time. It's not the wizard. So
well, that's I believe that's the idea. You know, you point and you shoot, and it doesn't matter whether you have to charge or not because you're wanting to. Definitely.
And Chariot Runners on the Shadow Warriors, is that a free upgrade that he's just ticked, or is he paid for that?
I think it's a point each, but 5 points. Yeah, 5 points to get in front of the Sky Cutters. So interesting, because I guess Sky Cutters, they're not large targets, so you still you fly, but you've got to be able to see. Rico, the madman, what is going on? Alex, do you want to take us through it? We thought Damo's feels very deliberate. Rico's feels less deliberate.
Rico, I think, is a big fan of MSU style lists. When he was playing Tomb Kings, from memory, there was always like single chariots, I believe, from previous tournaments. So this is definitely not your standard chaos list. So I'm interested to see how he goes with it. The Demon Prince is here. Marcus Zinch, level 4 wizard, lore familiar. So critically, he's not going for blue fire, because he can't access it now with a lore familiar. He must be going for the fireball, pillar of fire choices, etc. He's not going to have Oaken Shield because Demon Prince can't join a unit, and it's a self-targeted spell. Anyway, I think most Chaos Sorcerers level 4 go spell familiar now to access blue fire and just run the risk of not rolling that one critical spell that you might need, which happened to me against Paddy a couple of tournaments ago.
That was ages ago.
Some other interesting choices. Yeah, no, but we never forget. We never forget.
No, clearly.
John, I've never forgotten our first game.
Jesus. Settle every grudge in the last.
That's why I was playing dwarves. So interesting. He's gone Charm Shield, which maybe, I don't know if he realized, but the Demon Prince has a 4+ ward save from the Chaos Armor. So not sure what that's doing on there. Maybe he just had a couple of spare points and just wanted to round out the list to be at 999. And it sort of might. So
Can a Demon Prince even take a shield? I don't know if it can take a shield. So
no, he can't. So, but it's look, you know,
it's apples to apples at the moment. Yeah, he's got a 4-up, or he can choose. Well,
yeah, that's a very good point, Alex, though, and Rico, you might want to check that, because I don't believe the Demon Prince can take a shield. So maybe he was trying to get the shield to get a 4+ armor save on the Demon Prince, but that might need to be.
Might be right.
Yeah, maybe what he was going for as well. Rico advised to check that. Exalted Sorcerer again. Rod of the Damned
good times.
The summoning bounce spell. Great to see. A little bit harder to cast versus Ruby Ring, because it's that 9 versus the 8 on a +2 bounce spell power level. Again, the Charm Shield, an interesting one because it comes with a 5-up ward save already. So yeah, maybe it's this whole thing about trying to get access to a shield, which again, sorcerers can't take as stock standard. Dark Magic, Rico. Interesting.
Just trying to roll it raw.
I'm shocked. Roll it raw. No, lore familiar. Dark Magic is interesting. So that's where I would have expected to see it. The aspiring champion on a steed with the enchanting aura and giant blade. Effectively, this is going to go as we come down the list into the chosen knights to provide the always strikes last aura. So he's not bringing the Chaos Lord and or the Exalted Champ. So he's gone the cheaper version to try and get that in. Lots of Chaos Warhounds.
Yeah,
I was
20.
criticized, I think, for running 3, but lots. And this is what I mean about his style about running MSU
Mm.
units is he floods the board, he tries, to go well. And Rico plays well. I think he came second or third at some of the events as well. So
Yeah,
his
I played
tactics
him.
definitely work. Yep. You've played him no Vanguard on any of the Hounds, 5 Chaos Marauders. I feel like he may have done what I've done and then meant to have the skirmish, the free skirmish add-on,
Yeah,
which may not have been included. The
because the core's
22
pretty
Chaos
tight,
Warriors.
501. So
Yep.
yeah, maybe it was if it's free.
22 Chaos Warriors. Love to see them. Love it. Love it. Love it. Michael, is the only one that we've seen really run Chaos Warriors. That's not true. Yeah,
I
that's not
ran
true.
them.
That's not
Thank
true.
you.
You don't count. You don't count.
I
You don't
didn't
count.
move
Your
them. I
buy
didn't
army
move
doesn't
them.
count.
Just left them in a
Okay, the
forest
real
and
players that
regretted
committed
it.
to it for the whole event, Alex. With a war banner, right? And I think we're moving into this stage now where the old days of saying toughness 4, 4-up infantry were trash, not anymore. I think people have come to realize that. They're probably lacking a few special rules, but war banners giving that extra combat resolution. Interesting, 3 dragon ogres, but with halberds,
Yeah,
not the great weapons. So this is
interesting.
yep, very interesting on there. 5 chosen knights. Again, Icon of Darkness is the -1 to hit from shooting. You absolutely want that on a chosen knight unit because even though they've got a 2-up save, they're very expensive. So you need to be protecting them. And then a Shaggoth with the Headsman Axe. So there's definitely some non-conventional choices here. Killing Blow on the Shaggoth is there,
Mm,
maybe to nuke down Pegasus Knights
yep,
that get caught off guard. A Shaggoth is pretty decent. People
yep.
forget that it's high weapon skill 6 on a monstrous creature.
I think it has 5
Uh,
attacks as well, doesn't it?
it
And it can
does,
get
yeah.
a sixth one.
Yeah, plus it stomps.
Yeah.
So it's if it storm calls, it can get a tiny bit hilarious, but I wouldn't advise that in a tournament setting. So
Really?
yeah,
So
Rico,
I thought you storm cold every time. What's the
I storm
downside?
called and did wounds to
So
myself
you
and nothing else,
oh
which
my
was
God.
yeah. So just check the shields on that one. I would, and maybe talk to Michael. Maybe you can get a call back.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I reckon Rico it just looks like he's got 10 points left over for something.
Get another Chaos Marauder.
Get that frenzy get that skirmish on there as well.
It's free.
Uh,
It's free.
yeah, I reckon he just probably submitted it like late or half baked. People get the wrong list out. Scott, 1993 points. So Scott left a bit on the table for the rest of us too. Alasdair, do you want to run us through? He's gone a bit more conventionally, or aspects are conventional for Dark Elves.
Yeah, this is a lot more along the lines of what I'd expect when considering the characters. So the Dreadlord this time around has the pendant for the ward save that's adaptable to the strength of the attacks that it's receiving, and a giant blade to make the Dreadlord obviously that little bit more punchy in combat. The only thing that annoys me about Dreadlords, they're great. They're weapon skill 7, they're strength 4. They have 3 attacks, or actually no, they have 4 attacks. Excuse me. I've just never had a whole lot of luck in just hitting with
Yeah.
them. So it's always been the dragon that does all the work, and the Dreadlord sits on top. And in theory, weapon skill 3, it's hitting on 2s, but at the same time, most things it's only 3s, and I always end up rolling a 1 and a 2. So I love to see the investment, the 65 points for the giant blade. I'm not sure whether, again, personally, running my Dark Elves, I would probably run the defensive option because it is so damn tanky. But still going to be a big, scary dragon, and probably the most durable of all the dragons, I feel, against things that are intended to hit them really hard. So big, scary centerpiece there. Sorceress on a Dark Pegasus with a Tome of Fury, which is the 5 spells. So she technically has 6 spells, including Ruby Ring. And obviously, he's hoping to roll up all of the battle magic specialties with those 5 spells, and just hoping not to miss a pillar or a fireball. Standard Dark Elf core, pretty much the same core you see everywhere. 2 units of crossbows, 2 units of Dark Riders. Fill out that 500 points quite nicely. He might have something else, one more thing stuck on there, but otherwise, no, it is just the 4 units. Unit of Cold One Knights, they're super strong. Everybody loves Cold One Knights. Everybody wishes they had countercharge, but everybody loves Cold One Knights. We know what they're capable of. They're potentially the best elite cavalry in the game, and they certainly would be if they had countercharge, even with stupidity. 5 Doomfire Warlocks for just a little bit more magic for giggles, I suppose, with a Warlock Master in there. So that unit is power level 2 with 1 spell from Dark Magic or Demonology, I believe. So potentially choosing Doombolt or the Summoning to roll around with. A Charybdis, everybody's favorite war monster, and then a pair of Reaper Bolt Throwers to sort of wrap things up. The Reapers we've seen, bolt throwers in general, I think are a little bit underrated this edition. I've always advocated for them from the very start. So it's nice to see 2 bolt throwers in opposition to a lot of the other artillery. They're cheap. They do a lot of damage. They're ballistic skill 4. They have the through and through rule, which is hilarious. But enough sort of ranged board presence to at least protect his core, and then those sort of mobile bits and pieces to do a bit of damage. A lot of heavy lifting is going to be expected of that sorceress, though, as with, really similar lists that I've run with Dark Elves. So there is a huge risk there as well in terms of going up against someone like Paddy Brown with lots of independent shooting. That sorceress can't be as aggressive as it needs to be, just by dint of receiving so many poison attacks back and having no protection. So good luck to Scott. It's a great list. I'm glad that he's brought it and not the vampire counts this time. It's got a lot of strong pieces. I hope he performs well.
He had Dark Elves last time as
Did he?
well. Yeah. At the last event, he was repping them.
Was that the event that I was not at?
That you were not at. Yep.
Yeah,
right.
it was like
That's
a
right.
different list. He had a lot of Witch Elves, I think, didn't he?
Yeah. And by the way, you're the only one that wants countercharge on Cold Ones.
Simon's up. Simon won last time, and he was running Tomb Kings. He's now switched to the list that he lost to at CanCon, which we featured on this channel. Jay Golding or Tear Commander Online, his Vampire Counts list that is not really, I think it has a screen. Well, I guess there's Wailing Dirge on the Mortis engine, I think still, but there's no Tomb Banshees or Terrorgeist in this list. Instead, you've got the big Necromancer on the Mortis engine, +1 to cast 5 spells. Interestingly, I thought this might have been a straight rip, but no skull stuff, which I love, like the +1 to the spell. So instead, Scepter of the Noiro. Is that a real word, Noiro? Is it just like a Frenchy take on knights?
I think it's some bastardization of the French word for blood.
Look it up. No enough French to be suspicious, but Noiro, maybe. It's got to be. But then the Vampire Count, interestingly, so the Jay Golding version just runs a great weapon and just relies on that being good enough. Simon's gone all out and put an Ogre Blade on it, which is huge, but it's only going to be level 2. I think it's called Master of the Black Arts, the ability that gives it level 3. But something I learned in that video was, again, it's Glittering Robe they put on it so that in a dragon versus dragon combat, it's 5s to hit. So but that was part of
the Abyssal Terror is the Manticore analog, isn't it?
Somewhat. It's got like a lot of wounds still.
Sure.
But yeah, it's not a dragon for sure. It's a bit significantly weaker.
Not a zombie dragon.
Yeah, not a zombie dragon, which is not, it's still okay, but it's definitely a step down. But you can't do the points. I'd love to run this. I've got this type of list ready to go, like to paint, but I can't squeeze the dragon in it at 2,000 for sure. Because you need
Is
this
there any
white
army
lord.
you don't have, Mr. Brown?
Just getting all the dragons at this point. But
I think it's toughness 6, by the way, that Abyssal Terror
Is it?
with the
Yeah, I think
vampire
it's
count.
still
Yeah.
defensively really good, just not as offensive. But the
Yep.
vampires, I guess, trying to make up for that in this magic department. You need the White Lord to have the Graveguard. Vic,
Yep.
Simon's gone with Standard Hellish Vigor for more speed rather than the Drakenhof banner, which we'll see is put elsewhere. Triple Direwolves, which are really great value, not just as chaff, I think just have a couple of abilities that make them quite useful. Fell Bats are sort of that redirector. Again, very great, good value. A lot of stuff in the Vampire Counts PDF is. But he's maxed out with the Blood Knights 8. They're already very tough to kill. He's given them that regen banner, and the supernatural horror gives them terror as well. So, you're testing if he's taking, I don't think is he taking necromancy? Maybe he is, but you're getting the -1 in combat against living things. Yeah, it is necromancy, so you're going to get spirit leeched here too. So, yeah, this army has proven itself in tournaments all over Australia. I think it's starting to catch on. Although Scream sort of festers out there as a gotcha army that is definitely like top tier if you're playing at the highest levels of the meta, it is a feels bad army, and I think this is
Yep.
sort of
This
a
is clean.
fairer Vampire Counts army at least. Powerful, but pretty much just like the other hard lists in this get through. So
If you cast your mind back to the oldies that were part of the sixth edge scene, if you were playing vampire counts, this is reminiscent of a Blood Dragon's army when you used to have this little sub. I call it the Arcane General of
yeah,
sixth ed. Was you could
yeah,
get it. It was like Graveguard Core. Well, it was Black Knights from memory back then, but of course we didn't have Blood Knights in sixth edition. So I like to imagine this as a callback to a time when Blood Dragons were kings. Weapon skill 10, Vampire Lords, hitting Archeon on threes, etc.
So you get a
They were the
necromancer on
jam.
a giant chariot with 86 special rules as well. I think that's the problem. If you got rid of that, you would have a lot of fun undead lists. But that Mortis engine, the Mortis is just unreal. Like this caster is as good as it gets in the game with on par with the other Mortuary Cults Tomb Kings ones or the puppet. It's really good. So yeah, look out, I
Yeah,
reckon.
Simon's gonna do well.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is going to be good in the field. And the last list, we got a little bit of time. What do you think? Tom made some adjustments. You guys know him
Tommy
well.
Harps.
He's thinking. Well, what is his thinking after with a slightly different list than he was playing on the weekend?
Let's just preface quickly, Alasdair. I feel like Tom Harp is on the final list of every video. I know they're
I mean,
kind of like
that's
going down it.
that's his unfortunate luck with having a name that starts as T
Yeah.
and us a community with anyone
Is that like alphabetized
Yeah.
by first name? Is that how
Yeah.
it works? Yeah,
It
it
is.
is. All of us were at the start.
And Alasdair played this today, so maybe he should take it away.
Yeah, so this is the thinking man's ogres. It's it's a big anvil and a number of big hammers to hit you when you decide to go for that anvil. The thing to consider here with that giant unit of Iron Guts is it's very likely going to have regen and Oaken Shield up pretty much all the time. Then you're churning through, I believe it's something like, with the 4 characters in there, it's unit strength 36 fear causing, which means that it's gonna outnumber you for pretty much anything that runs at it. So if you don't cause fear and you try and charge that unit, you're taking fear checks every time you go at it. And if you're lucky enough to actually get into that unit, you've got a 4 abreast unit that consists of a tyrant, a slaughtermaster, a bruiser, and a unit champion, none of which die if you target the unit with your attacks. So your choice hitting that unit from the front is to either individually target each of those ogre characters, all of which have reasonably high weapon skill and can hit extremely hard, or to hit the unit for combat resolution. And if you hit the unit for combat resolution and don't do too much because you're trying to hit against a 5+ armor, a 5+ ward save, and a 5+ a 5+ regen save, and you don't get there, then he has a static combat res, I think, at full wounds of 6 in that unit. So just to talk you through the characters that make up that front line, the Tyrant is a multi-wound monster with 6 attacks, weapon skill 6, strength 7. He's got a persistent 5+ armor save, and then he's going to have those 2 levels of additional save as well from the unit. He's got a potion of speed for when it really matters, if he's charging in or if he feels like he needs just that extra couple of points of initiative to hit before something else that might be striking last. Death Cheater is he can force you to re-roll a single wound roll each time that you're rolling to wound him. So for those killing blow attacks, for example, from a duke that might be in combat with him, he can force you to reroll that 6. So it's a strong, very durable, toughness 5, very durable character. It's the charge sink. It is the tank, and it hits back with multiple wounds D3. You got a Slaughtermaster in there with a Spell Eater Axe, giving the unit -2 magic resist, a Lore Familiar for battle magic, so he can choose his offensive spells and otherwise. That also has Death Cheater. You've then got the Bruiser BSB. Don't be deceived by it being a Bruiser, not a Tyrant. It's still got a great weapon, so it's still hitting you at strength 7. It is a BSB with the War Banner to give the extra combat results, and it has the Ruby Ring. So that unit, that massive unit of ogres that's unit strength 36, is a mobile cannon machine that has the ability to totally repulse your charge or win on combat res if you fail to kill the characters by directing attacks. Or if you direct attacks at the unit, you're then taking that whole plethora of strength 7 attacks at high weapon skill on your units. And it's very upsetting. And that's just the one unit, right? And granted, it's the majority of his points. I think it's something close to 1,200 points in that one unit. If not 1,200, then at least 1,000. He's got 3 Ogre Bulls paying the tax for Ogre Bulls. He's got 2 units of Saber Tusks that scout. So he's going to be putting those very close to your unprotected war machines or otherwise in your way to either tempt you into an unwise charge that he can pounce on you for, or really just get in your way and stop you from positioning. And then on top of that, he's got 2 rather large chariots that just happen to have great cannons on them, 2 Iron Blasters. Don't be deceived by the fact that they have cannons on them. They can move and shoot. And on top of that, they are heavy chariots with D6 +1 impact hits. They are one of the big hammers that he has to catch you with if you go in against his massive anvil. And then the other is everybody's favorite, Mournfangs. The list that he's looking towards has more Mournfangs, which is great. The Mournfangs do have the Bull standard, so they're re-rolling their impact hits to wound. This is... Anyone who hasn't played ogres before looks at this and goes, what's the big deal? I just don't understand. Like, it's just ogres, right? Like, their infantry is extraordinarily mediocre. You know, they don't have high armor save. You know, their characters are a bit scary, but I just don't get it. The really big takeaway to get from this is that unit of Iron Guts is wounds for all of these characters and not a whole lot else. Wounds and combat res. And so if you end up in a position where he forces you into engaging it, which he's very good at doing and is getting better all the time, you're going to get yourself caught in a situation where you're sort of tar pitted. And if the unit itself doesn't kill you, one of these hammers is going to sweep in and totally destroy you in the following turn. So
Did you win the game today?
Oh, no.
Okay.
In my defense, and I won't give excuses, it's been a little while since I have played any games, but I made some deployment errors. But even that, my small group understands the power of the Empire of the Empire Knights of the White Wolf. We're all very familiar with how powerful that unit can be and how much damage it can do. I made the mistake with that unit, which is multi-wound 2 unit, hitting its strength 5, weapon skill 4. I made the mistake of targeting the characters. I didn't kill a single character. I still got 16 points of combat res, and I lost that combat by 2 points.
And you auto break. You just need to lose by 1. You auto break.
Auto break the massive unit strength. So yeah,
Yeah, it'll be
it's
interesting. We'll see. It
We're talking
promises
it
a
up,
good
Tom.
talked
You know,
it up.
Alex
Yeah.
Brown is not a believer. And we should point out the other Ogre player, James.
Yep.
Very similar concept. Iron Gut Bust.
I mean, it makes
Tyrant
sense in the
Onslaught.
format. Makes sense in the format.
Yep.
Like these big units, the clever thing with ogres is not having to have anything in the front rank, which is legal. Like you say, they join the command group. There's some very shitty rules around that, but I think it's pretty clear with the FAQ and the way it works that they can join the command group and they're part of the command group, and then you've got fight. What do you call going through the ranks if they get hit in the back? So
yeah,
you've got to sort of multi-charge it, which I
it
guess
all,
is sort of the answer against a lot of these big units, which are the antidote to things like dragons. So
yeah, and
that
that's a very important thing to point out. You can't get around these combat characters. You can't, because no matter how you hit them, no matter what happens, they're gonna move through the ranks and adapt to you wherever you charge in. So if you're thinking really cleverly with my Pegasus Knights, I'm going to jump over the top and avoid those characters and charge them from the rear, he's just going to keep going forward towards his target. Because the moment you come in, all of those combat characters pivot into the combat rank and you're fighting them all over again.
we've got to cut it off there. We've given you the whole way to play this list. I hope, or at least be afraid of it. Thank you for sticking with it. We will see you on Saturday week. It's been another saga. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in again. We'll see you soon. Sign up for Yamcha. We don't want to wait. We're not waiting.
Go
Are we,
Dwarves.
Dave?